Hello and welcome to VW Feasts. Today it's time for fish and chips. Yes, Friday fish and chips supper. Yummy. An awful lot of ingredients for this, as well as making the fish, some beautiful fish we have here with a beer batter. We're obviously going to make some chips, the potatoes. We're also going to make a really nice tomato ketchup. And finally, a tartar sauce. Wow. Right, first thing to make, tartar sauce, which is basically a mayonnaise, which is of course eggs, vinegar, oil. And we add a little bit of mustard. And then you can add things to it. We have capers and pickles and parsley and onions. We even have some additional eggs into this. This is no diet dish. Right, first of all, let's make up that mayonnaise. So, on goes the blitzer, and we'll start to combine all the ingredients. So first of all, the eggs and the vinegar. In goes a little bit of French mustard. Just a gentle flavour, we don't want to use too spicy. This is tartar sauce. And then very slowly add the oil. And this is the bit where you have to keep stirring, and it very slowly so that the whole thing doesn't split. A set recipe we've been able to find for tartar sauce. It's essentially mayonnaise and throw some stuff in. So we'll try this one, we'll see. The quantities we're making, it's quite a lot of tartar sauce, so I think we've been eating fish all week. Obviously if you don't want quite so much or aren't going to use it quite so quickly, you can reduce the quantities. There's a big debate about whether we should be doing tartar sauce or some sort of pea dish, because fish, chips and peas is a tradition. But then you get into the whole mushy pea debate, and I don't want to go there. Right, we have our mayo. Again, what we should have done perhaps is just kept some of this as just mayo, but no, we made it all into tartar sauce. So the entire apartment is now awash with the stuff. As I said, in go the pickles, little chopped French cornichon, a bit of salt, and finely chopped red onion, the capers, which I've never seen the point of, a little bit of parsley, and then more egg. This is very different to a shop-bought tartar sauce, which would be much more uniform, probably much whiter, and probably a bit runnier as well. This is homemade. Lovely. Quick taste to make sure it's all come together. Perfect. Right, that goes in the fridge till later. Now the ketchup. Obviously tomatoes themselves, but we're going to enhance the flavour with some tomato juice. We're going to put some chillies in because we like it hot, and some Tabasco, some garlic, and basil. What we're going to do first is taking those tomatoes, we want to enhance their flavour. And one of the ways of enhancing them is going to be to roast them. That obviously helps intensify the flavour, because that's really what we're looking for, an intensely flavoured small dollop of tomato that helps enhance your chips or your fish indeed. What we want to do is have it in a small quantity. When I was a child, of course, ketchup went on everything. We used to have so much that we had a huge jar in the house, because we would lather everything in ketchup. Ketchup gets a bad name because of this overuse. There are some places in the States where hot dog and burger places say you cannot have ketchup on, and it's generally thought to be something that only uneducated people would eat. Indeed, ordering a ketchup bottle in a restaurant is tantamount to calling the chef useless. However, despite its bad press, ketchup can be a good thing if used in the right way and if homemade. So we'll put on some salt and some sugar. Now, sugar is important in the ketchup. Ketchup is quite sugary. You want to be able to balance that acidity with something. A little bit of pepper. time, actually most of the time we only use shop-bought ketchup is in Chinese cooking. It's amazing how often that ingredient comes up. Stir that round, make sure it's all coating evenly on the pieces of tomato, and then we'll put that into the oven. Okay, it's been in there for a while now, so what we're going to do is we're going to take it out and start to incorporate some of the other ingredients with it. As I said, the tomato juice, and the VW tells me that the reason for buying the tomato juice was just to check and make sure it was okay, was just have a Bloody Mary before we started. I don't think she's joking. Anyway, in goes some garlic, freshly chopped. Our chilies, here we're using a habanero, again to give it a bit more spice. You don't have to, but the basil counterpoints the tomato perfectly, so you want to make sure that's in, nice fresh basil. Now we haven't chopped it up at this stage because we'll be taking the consistency and changing that as we go along. Here we're just trying to get the flavour in. You might want to just tear it a little bit just to help release that flavour, or just throw it in as we have. Now after that has roasted a bit longer, we'll blend it, so into the blitzer, and then just blitz until everything is nicely incorporated, breaking down the basil, breaking down the fibrous parts of the tomatoes, the garlic, so we have a nice smooth consistency. Also another opportunity to taste and just check, make sure we're heading in the right direction. Again, another large volume of liquid we made here. We're probably having fish and chips for the rest of this month, but you can use this sauce for all sorts of other things. We could put it on some pasta, we could use it to make a pizza, who knows. That's nicely blended. We're going to put it back in the pan and reduce it down again. Essentially you want to get to that familiar sticky dollop. Once we've reduced it down a bit further, we're then going to pass it through a sieve. And this means you get away all those final bits of basil and of tomato to make sure that we have a nice smooth. I apologise for the sirens in the background. It wasn't me, honest. Here we add some Tabasco, again to give it a bit more flavour. And then just using the spatula, we'll just pass it through a sieve just to make sure all those bits are out. Yummy. This is where a lot of the flavour is, so we do want to make sure we get as much as possible through. Ketchup could also open up a whole other debate, the whole red sauce, brown sauce debate when we get to bacon sandwiches, and there we really are, a country divided. Lovely. We'll just reduce that down to the consistency we want for the ketchup. Now the pièce de résistance, the batter for the fish. Batter is of course equal parts of liquid, flour and egg. However, what we're using is we're going to use beer as the liquid, we are using egg whites, and we're also adding a little bit of bicarbonate of soda just to make sure we get that extra lift. Again, we're looking for something that isn't too thick and crusty, but probably a bit thicker than a tempura. We want this to coat the fish and be able to taste yummy. Now we're going to whisk and get loads of air in and combine the beer and the eggs, and you'll see that as you incorporate more of the air, it almost doubles in volume. This will give you a much, much lighter batter. What we're of course not showing you is we're not showing you the chips. We believe you probably know how to make chips. You essentially just take the potatoes, slice the appropriate size, and we do a 3-stage cooking method, which is first of all to part boil the chips, then to fry them till you get the nice colour, and then just to finish them off in the oven. This is your triple cooked chips. Makes a nice crunchy outside and a fluffy inside. So we're getting to the stage where this is about as much air as can be incorporated into this mixture, and it will then be time to combine with the flour and the bicarbonate of soda. On reflection, this may not have been the best implement to do it with, as you can see a flour storm coming out. We'll have to work on exactly how we do this. But combine, make sure it's evenly through, no claggy lumps of flour, and a nice smooth batter that we can then use to coat the fish. Whoops. The majority of the liquid in, which leaves the DW a dilemma now, because she wants to move it around to make sure she gets all the flour. You'll have to hold the bowl to do that, otherwise if you touch the sides, obviously with the whisk and aren't holding, it'll spin round. Has she forgotten that? Ah yes, there we go. So, the dilemma. How to carry on adding the rest of that liquid while still maintaining a hold of the bowl and whisking. Yes, third hand to the rescue. We really are going to have to work out how we whisk things. It's making a mess. So, as I said, liquid can be, traditionally it's milk. You can use water for a sort of lighter batter, or you can use sparkling water if you don't want to use the beer. Again, gets the carbon dioxide into the batter and lightens it up. Or use equal parts milk and fizzy water. Whatever you want. Experiment. Try it out. See what effects it has on the batter. And hopefully without the yolks in this one, it makes it a little bit lighter as well. So we're going to add a little bit of fizzy water now, just to loosen up that final and get to a nice consistency with which we can coat our fish. Perfect. So our fish, and for this we have chosen cod. It is the traditional fish of fish and chip shops. It is rarer and therefore more expensive. A large number of fish and chip shops will substitute other white fish, all quite delicious. But for this, we wanted cod. You can cut it into whatever size you want. We're cutting it into smaller portion sizes to allow cooking. You could cut even smaller and make it into fish fingers and have a fish finger sandwich. Yummy. What we're doing is we're going to get it to a size that it's reasonable to portion up into to pieces. In the UK, what you tend to do is get the whole fish fillet and fry that. But that's when you have industrial fryers, which can get up to about 400 Celsius. I'm afraid ours does not get that hot, so we need to cook it in smaller pieces. We're going to add it into the oil, put the basket in first, otherwise if you put it into the basket and then lower it in, it will stick to the basket, and that's something you really want to avoid doing, just keeping it moving in the oil. And you'll see that some of the bits of batter actually break off and form little batter bits. These, in the north of England, are known as scraps and can be requested from a chip shop. Can I have some scraps, please? Possibly one of the most unhealthy things you could eat in your entire life, but yummy. There, look at the scraps in there. So we'll take the fish, and to finish off we'll just put them onto a baking tray and put them in the oven with our chips. Then when all is ready, we will serve and have fish, chips, ketchup, tartar sauce, and of course bread and butter. Enjoy.